Yo, yo, yo. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Baseline Frequency Podcast. And I'm your host, Brian, aka Scope, the producer. And this is where bass music, car audio, and real life experience come together. If you've been rocking with this series, you already know we're not here to waste money, and we're not here to guess. So, with that being said, let's get to this question at hand, shall we? And today's question is, and this is a good one, do I really need an equalizer? Or is my system just not set up right? Because a lot of people think an EQ is the fix, when sometimes it's just covering up a problem. So let's talk about it. I've seen people add EQ after EQ, tweaking sliders all day, still unhappy with their bass. And at the point, the EQ ain't the issue, the setup is. So, you can't EQ your way out of a bad foundation. You just can't. So you might as well try and figure out what it is. EQ is not always the problem. So, an EQ, or should I say, an equalizer, doesn't create bass. What it does, it shapes what's already there. You get it? So if the signal is weak, distorted, or unbalanced, the EQ just makes that more obvious. So, let's jump right on to the tech checkpoints. Number 1, gain structure first. If the gains aren't set right, the EQ ends up boosting distortion instead of music. And like I said before, and as you already know, distortion is a bad problem. It needs to be fixed immediately. We don't want to be blowing up speakers and all that stuff. So let's keep these subs healthy. So number 2, crossovers matter more than sliders. If the crossover is wrong, the EQ is just fighting the system. The bass might be playing too high, too low, or overlapping mids. You gotta listen to certain things, and then that way you can tweak what needs to be tweaking. You don't want your bass too high. You definitely don't want it too low where distortion comes in, because, well, like I said, distortion is not good for anybody's system. So, number 3, once again, we're going back with the box and placement. It's still a rule. If the enclosure isn't working with the car, no EQ setting is gonna fix that. Remember when I was saying that the box that was not sealed good, how it was just rattling and the bass wasn't going through the ports? That alone can screw up a system bad. And when you try to EQ it to try to fix something that does not have anything to do with the EQ, it's completely, y'all, about the box not being fully closed off, air escaping out the box rattling, no bass hardy. All you doing is adding EQ and adding distortion to some trash box that either needs to be fixed or just completely discard it and try again. Because if you keep on, you're just boosting the problem. That's all you're doing. You're just making a problem worse than what it is, louder than what it is, because of something else. EQ is not the problem solver. So, number 4, when an EQ does make sense. You ready? An EQ is powerful after the basics are right. We talked about this earlier. Before you go getting all this stuff, make sure that what you got is right, compatible. Make sure that the boxes are sealed perfect. Well, to the best perfect. We're going to leave it at that. We don't want no half stepping, because if you half step anything on your system, it's going to show, and all the EQ is going to do is bring it out more. So that's when you fine tune for the cabin, the music, and your listening style. That's when you use, that's when the EQ does make sense. Once again, when an EQ does make sense, when the EQ is powerful, after you done met all your basics and you got it right, when you fine tune for the cabin, the music, and your listening style, that's where EQ comes in. And like I said before, because I literally just said it, but we're going to say this again. We're going to bring it back to priorities. This is another priority lesson. You're buying tuning tools before fixing the fundamentals, and you end up frustrated, and your pocket a little less more, or a whole lot less money than what you already had, when you just could have took out the time to, fine tune your stuff. And I'm not fussing, but I'm saying it because I've had this happen to me. I've done it, so I'm literally kind of fussing at myself. But tune your stuff good. Get the basics down first, and then if your basics is good, all that EQ gonna do is enhance the beauty of your system and make it sound so much better. Like I said, it's nothing when you have that bass that hits just perfect. I mean, it's an experience. It really is. The best EQ setting is a solid setup. Get your basics down, or if you done added some more little upgrades, do that, and then tweak your EQ to your liking and see if it doesn't sound so much better. Not because you had to cut the gains up on the EQ too much, because you trying to fix a problem you obviously can't fix until you actually find out what the problem is, and then you go about tweaking it, getting that straight, and then see if you even need an EQ. Some people don't even use EQs unless it's on the radio. Some people decide, hey, I like it, but I want it a little bit stronger. Then, hey, EQ probably you go to. So, yeah. So now that we done talked about that, and I done probably talked your ear off, it's time for the bass track of the week. And this week's track is produced by me, of course, for now. And this one is great for EQ testing because it has controlled low end and consistent bass lines. And as always, if your system is right, You won't need to over tweak anything. Might need to cut it down when you hear this bass. But either way, here we go.
This is called breaking glass. Oh, so now we breaking glass. Now what next? Couches, pictures.
If you got some drink, then you gotta turn it up. Sit back in your ride, then you gotta turn it up. Trying to break the glass, man, you gotta turn it up. Gotta turn it up. Gotta turn it up. If you got some drink, then you gotta turn it up. Sit back in your ride, then you gotta turn it up. Trying to break the glass, man, you gotta turn it up. Gotta turn it up. Gotta turn it up.
You'll be rockin', crank the music, rockin', crank the music, crank the rockin', crank the music, crank the music, crank the music, crank the rockin', crank the music, rockin', crank the music, crank the rockin', crank the music, crank the music, crank the music. You should be rockin' with your system loud. You should be dropping when you got a crowd. You got that neon on there like a show. Flicking to the music, watch it glow.
Okay, so I hope you like that little clip. Always notice that all the bass tracks of the week, should I say, are definitely on all the streaming services that you listen to. So you don't just have to listen to it on YouTube or wherever you're listening to it at. You can always go and check out these tracks on your favorite streaming services. So, with that being said, let's get back to this real talk moment. I'm just going to say this. Bass isn't about how many tools you own. It's about understanding what your system actually needs. And then once you get that, everything else gets easier. Yo, if this episode helped clear something up for you or anything, hit the like button, drop a comment, EQ or no EQ, what do you use? Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And don't forget to check out the bass music in the description. We already said that. So, as I'm closing out, I always say this. This has been the Baseline Frequency Podcast. Feel smart, tune last, and enjoy the bass. And I'll catch y'all on the next episode.